Okay, the issue at hand. Genetic modification has the following issue: allergies, antibiotic resistance, pesticide exposure, and unknown side effect. So allergies. Perhaps the number one health concern over genetic modification is capacity to create new allergies in our food supply. Genetic modification can result in the creation of novel proteins which has not previously contained in our food. It also can increase the levels of natural protein allergy already present in our food or insert allergenic properties to a food that did not previously contain it. But worst of all, it will be able to create the new allergies we have never before known. Antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance genes are often used for a marker to signal that the desired GM change, such as resistance to a particular beta killer, has taken place. However, the antibiotic resistance genes are really bad for our health because it's bacteria transferred into our intestines during digestion, and then the antibiotic lost the ability to effectively control or kill bacteria growth. Pesticide exposure. The majority of GM crops in cultivation are engineered to contain a gene for pesticide resistance. In the process of cultivation, we use a lot of herbicides for plants in order to kill any weed and harmful insect endangering the plants. For example, according to the resistance of animal result, glyphosate, which is included in the pesticide, has been linked to numerous health problems such as birth defect, reproductive damage, and cancers. Unknown side effect. Foreign genetic material in a host can cause other material in the host to behave erratically. Genes can be suppressed or overexpressed, causing a lot of bad results for our health. So GM crops has been linked to health problems as diverse as reproductive damage, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and diabetes. But to tell the truth, it is still unclear how GM crops' side effect will negatively affect the human race.
Okay, for some background information, the sale of genetically modified crops started in 1994 with the sale of Flavor Saver tomatoes. Little research has been made to study the potential problems that can stem from GM crops because the market has only been around for about 20 years. It's banned in over 50 countries around the world, as well as it has mandatory labeling in the European Union. While in the U.S., there is no mandatory labeling, and most of the regulations are not by the FDA, but with the actual producers themselves. Our position statement is, though it may be difficult to avoid eating GMOs entirely, you should be aware of what you are consuming and make a conscious effort to stray away from genetically modified food. Here's some common misconceptions. GM crops are not more nutritious than non-GM crops. Many biofortified GM crops are only focused on one vitamin or mineral, generally decreasing the amount of other nutrients. Examples include less isoflavones in soy, reduced vitamin E and oil fat composition in canola modified for vitamin A, and decreased levels of amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and nutritionally important trace elements, and protein in rice. GM crops also do not have higher crop yields. Some actually have lower due to gene disruption. The U.S. EPA, reviewed by the USDA, stated in an article that after extensive testing, GM technology has not increased intrinsic yield of any crop. GM crops are also not more climate ready than conventional varieties. Monsanto's drought-resistant maize was taken off the market by the USDA shortly after its release, as conventional versions were at least as effective with water management. This was expected as GM crops are modified versions of best conventional types. GM crops have also not decreased pesticide use, but have accelerated it. 75% of all GM crops are modified to tolerate herbicides. Roundup-ready crops are almost completely resistant to Monsanto's Roundup weed killer and are sprayed with massive amounts of chemicals as a result. And also, GM crops are not a way to solve world hunger problems, as the GM community has been arguing. The crops do not produce more, are not more resistant to weather, and do not have more nutrition than conventional varieties. Hunger is not a lack of food, but a lack of access. The world already produces enough food to feed itself, but hunger is caused by social, political, and economic barriers.
Alright, so just a brief summary of everything we've covered so far. There really are no current benefits of GMO products for the consumer. The only benefits are for that of the producer. There's also not enough testing on GM products for them to be introduced to the market. And we also know the issues and effects, including allergies, antibiotic resistance, pesticide exposure, the unknown side effects, as well as the negative impact that they have on the environment. So some alternatives to GMOs. It can be complicated, but it really depends on the approach. When talking about herbicides and pesticides, there are clear alternatives. Basically, just changing from an industrial agriculture to a sustainable agricultural system with a focus on crop rotation is the perfect alternative in this case. Basically, what crop rotation is planting different crops on the same land. What this does is it keeps pests and weeds under control by depriving them of continuous food supply. This also increases the fertility of the soil. This controls a wide variety of species in comparison to the few that are controlled with GM crops. So basically, crop rotation is a preferred alternative. The main difference between sustainable systems and our current industrial agricultural systems is that industrial agriculture solves problems by developing new expensive products that must be purchased by the growers, whereas sustainable systems solves problems by understanding and manipulating the elements of the system to achieve its goals. In this case, new products are less important than the new knowledge. So when talking about solving the problem, basically the best way to do this is to buy and cook quality non-GMO food. The next best thing to non-GMO is going to be certified organic. Also just become aware of the situation at hand and become more conscious of your food consumption. If it is possible, another good way is to grow your own personal garden. Also just spread the word. The more people who are going to be consuming non-GMO products, the more the non-GMO producers can produce. So shopping non-GMO verified, there's an excellent website called the nongmoproject.org. They have a free iPhone app with all their information on it, and they also offer a cookbook that you can buy on their website as well, basically just listing all the verified non-GMO products that are on the market currently. And a way to clean GMOs out of your diet is basically just to understand the amount of U.S. genetically modified crops. Basically 90% of cotton is GM, 90% of canola oil, 94% of soy, 88% of corn, 95% of sugar beet. With alfalfa, the first planted crop was in 2011, so there aren't much statistics on this. With papaya, most of the Hawaiian crops, approximately 988 acres are GM. And with zucchini and squash, approximately 25,000 acres at GM. So basically, seeing all these, you can tell that these are very common products that are found in the vast majority of the food we consume daily.
I guess that's it.